Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that's dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of subjects, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI to help transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist or specialist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Does your practice onboard new employees in a structured system? Do you know what onboarding means? Today, I'm joined by Belinda McLean, a HR expert and owner of Human Resource Focus. Belinda believes inducting and orientating staff into your business is one of the most critical aspects of the employment cycle. If you get it wrong, it can cost you thousands of dollars. Belinda, would you like to share your story? I'd love to know what businesses think onboarding is. Can you share what onboarding a new employee means and the benefits for dental practices in doing this process properly?
Thanks, Michelle. You're definitely happy to share a bit about my stories. I've worked in human resources for well over 20 years, and I've had my own business for coming up to 18 years. I've worked with lots of different businesses across a lot of different industries, professional services, trades-based, even dental. I think it's important from an onboarding perspective. Firstly, what is onboarding? It's when you have a new employee who comes and starts working for your business, and it's their first day, it's their first week. It's about introducing them to your business and providing them with a good overall summary of how your business operates. What is it about your business that's different to other businesses? What are the policies and procedures that apply within your business? How do they apply for leave? How do they lock up the office at the end of the day? All those little things that you just take for granted as an existing employee or a long-term employee or owner of a business. You already know all these things. A new person, they don't know where the toilets are. They don't know how to log into your computer systems or where to save the files in your systems. Onboarding is introducing your new employees to how you run and operate your business, and having a structured process makes it a much smoother transition for the new employee. It means that you've checklisted everything off and you haven't missed anything. And onboarding makes the new employee journey much more smoother.
Excellent. How does it actually differ from a simple orientation process?
Orientation is a bit more of the original traditional basic. Here's the lunchroom and the bathrooms. We have lunch at 1:00 and here's your laptop. And if you have any questions, let me know. It's a bit of a tick and flick approach to orientating. Onboarding is not just the first day. It's generally a process that you do over a week or 2 weeks or even 3. Some of my clients do it over a few months, and they do a checkpoint back in to see if they've missed anything with that employee. So the first day, it's your general things, and then you might book appointments with different key people within your business over the first week. Who do they go to for any computer issues? How do they access their IT? How do they access marketing or whatever it might be in the organisation? It's meeting the key stakeholders in the organisation and the people that they're going to work with on an ongoing basis, and doing it over a period of time, a week or 2 weeks or even a month. It gives people time to absorb the information rather than just having everything dumped on one day.
I have to say I see that a lot. I advocate that as well, because when people come in and you're explaining the structure, the values, the mission of the practice, how the actual culture and everything works as well. It's quite overwhelming on that day just to do a few things like the first stage, obviously the toilets and the muster point, the fire extinguishers. So those main things. Obviously that training schedule is really important, and that's the induction that I think doesn't get done, and it's very bespoke to each practice. I think for dental practices, especially, Belinda, that needs to be done over weeks because they need to learn the practice management system, and they have to, infection control, work health and safety, all of that sort of stuff. They have to read those policies. But the employee handbook, can you just explain a little bit about the employee handbook? I love the employee handbook.
The employee handbook is a really good snapshot summary of all of your rules and processes within your business. How to apply for leave, when are your breaks, what to do if you're sick, all those sort of things that you just take for granted. It summarizes essentially all of your policies in an employee handbook. It's definitely worth having that as part of your induction. I typically would include that on day one because it provides a start point for setting the boundaries and setting the rules for the employee-employer relationship. And that employee handbook is everything that's specific to your business. There might be some specific things like, your alarm codes or where to park even, because sometimes people forget to tell people that information. And, you don't want your employee getting booked on their first day because they've parked in a 2-hour parking spot. Those sorts of things are usually covered in an employee handbook, and everything from what day do they get paid even. Sometimes people forget to provide that information. Are they paid weekly? Are they paid fortnightly? What day is their pay processed? And the more information you provide people in your employee handbook, the better. It's allowing people time on their first day of employment or the first day or two of employment to have access time to read that information. Because I find often what happens and where onboarding goes wrong is somebody just says, it's in the file, read it when you get time. The problem is people start doing their job and they don't get time to read it. And then there's a problem and they're like, it was in the employee handbook. And it's like, well, I never actually got time to read the employee handbook. It's about providing that structured time to have access to the employee handbook, to be able to go back and visit that employee handbook if they've got a question about their leave or how much compassionate leave are they entitled to. All of those things, if you've got it all documented, it provides consistency across the board with your employees as well, having those rules and guidelines documented in an employee handbook. Ideally, it's great. There's lots of different ways people have their handbook. Some people are the old-fashioned printed, bound and put on a folder. These days, there's lots of software programs out there where you can have it as an online onboarding process, and the employee handbook's part of that. Sometimes they're customized, other times they're not. We implement that a lot in our clients, and we find that businesses that have those things in place have a much better onboarding process with their employees.
Coming to technology that you've just spoken about, a lot of dental practices use Employment Hero and Deputy, and they have quite good onboarding processes. Can you talk a little bit about how you can leverage technology to help with onboarding?
I think the benefit of using technology is it provides consistency with the way you do your onboarding. It's consistent regardless of whether it's done in May or it's done in December. You're using the same system, you're using the same processes, and you're using the same documents. There's lots of different software programs out there. There's Employment Hero, which is one that's quite common in the small to medium business space. We also provide we provide clients with a customized induction tool, which is not a HRIS system, but it's specifically an onboarding induction tool. Those systems allow for businesses to tap into the technology. You can update it really quickly. It's customized to your business, and you can edit those policies and procedures as needed. You can re-induct your employees as well. I think what often doesn't happen is we don't re-induct or re-onboard staff. They might have been there for 5 years. They don't realise that the policy was updated in 2022 because they haven't looked at it since they started. It's good practice is to redo that every 12 months because rules change, policies change. I think that's really important, and technology makes it easy to do that because you can just roll it out every 12 months.
I used to, if we had an updated procedure when I was managing, I personally would email it out to everybody to say, this has been updated. Then we bring it up at the meeting. Did everybody get that email? Obviously now with being able to contact people out of hours, things are changing regulation wise, but there are a lot of communication in those applications like Employment Hero. You can communicate through that. Would you suggest that, or really do a reinduction every year?
I think it's a combination of both. I would typically, if there's a new policy and there's an update, issue that at the time that you've made the change. Sometimes there's a bit of consultation with your employees about those things. For example, one of the ones that many of my clients do is implementing drug and alcohol testing, for example. And there's a consultation process involved in implementing that new policy. And then you would roll it out and send out an email, or if you've got a system, you'd put it on the system. Communicating at the time is really important. And then re-inducting, whether it's the 1st of February every year, you just roll it out to everybody, just as a refresher of all of those policies, because everybody's busy, everybody's got lots of things to do, and people forget about what are the policies. For example, the leave policy is one where I often get questions from clients around, did they've asked for leave and they want to go on holidays tomorrow? We need more notice than that. Your policy should stipulate you need 2 weeks notice to apply for leave, and it needs to be approved before you go ahead and book your holiday.
I've heard that a lot. People go, oh my gosh, they've they've just booked their holiday and we can't let them go. And it's like we have to let them go. I think that happens in a lot of places. That's really good, Belinda. As I said, I never actually thought about a reinduction, and probably doing that, even when you're doing performance appraisals, you can incorporate that into it. Or even if you have a team meeting with everybody, I suppose you could do that as well at that time as part of your training, because obviously training's ongoing, and training of policies and procedures is something that is quite big that you need to continue to do. What effect do you think is the impact on the employee by having a great onboarding process?
The way I see it is, usually when you've gone through a recruitment practice, it's usually taking you a fair bit of time, money and effort to get that person signed the contract and get them to start. They've given notice, they've come and started on board, you've promised all these things around, well, this is what we do and this is our organisation and we're a great place to work. And then if you don't have a really good onboarding experience at the beginning, and sometimes just plant a seed of doubt about, oh, is this the right place? Have I made the right decision? You know, they didn't have my computer ready. They're still running around organising where I was going to sit, and I turned up on the day. The onboarding process means that you've got your checklist for your pre-start for when they come on board. You've ordered all their technology and there's access to systems and software and passwords and all those things. And there's a bit of a process involved for doing that. It's not just a quick 5-minute job. You've got all your onboarding work that needs to be done. That's important. And then once they start, it gives a really good first impression of your business, that you're organised, you're professional, you've got systems and processes in place. And the employee can feel confident that they've made the right decision to join your business. It also helps establish really good understanding of the rules and the guidelines around how you operate, sets the standard with regards to what your values are and how you operate as a business. Essentially, that means that I find businesses that have good onboarding typically have the employee becomes more productive more quickly as well. They're not as lost in terms of what they need to do. They know who to go to. They know who to ask for questions. They've got access to the information, and they've been set up with a really good leg up to get to be successful in their role. It also, I think it improves your retention of staff. If you've got really good onboarding, they tend to stay longer, whereas those businesses that I've dealt with where they literally just rock up and wing it.
I think I was lucky because I came from that corporate background and they had their HR department. I remember when I just employed a new person, I remember the HR department sent me this list and I thought, this is actually really good. I thought, wow. And then when we had our practice, I went in there, I was able to get that information from what I'd learned from being the manager at the bank to duplicate that in our practice. I found that very early on. That's why I'm a big advocate of onboarding, because I've seen it really work well. I understand that getting that alignment, because it's really hard to get dental people at the moment and everybody wants a qualified dental assistant with so many years of experience. They get them in and they just quickly interview them and they've got experience. Oh, they might do one phone call. It might be to a friend. Who knows if they even do that. And then they want to engage them as quickly as possible because that other practice is going to employ them. And then they get them on and then it's, well, you know what to do. You just go over there. They've got no idea. So they've come in there. They're not aligned with the values. They don't know how the practice runs. As you said, it's a bigger turnover. Have you got an idea of what it costs to actually employ someone and then have them go?
Look, it ranges from industry to industry. It's anywhere from 2 to 3 months worth of salary. And more in some industries, and particularly where it's a specialised skill set, it's going to cost you more. Realistically, in my experience for new employees, they're not really productive in the first 4 to 6 months. Even if they're experienced, they might get up to, if they're an experienced dental assistant, for example, they might be up to speed within 3 months, but they're probably not 100% productive until after that stage because they're still learning your systems and your processes and how you operate as a business. Because I'm sure every business is slightly different, even if you're essentially doing the same thing. It's like an accountant's firm to an accountant firm. They know how to be an accountant, but there's different processes, there's different guidelines, and there's different systems in place. I think it's important to invest the time in getting them set up properly and onboarded. That onboarding is essentially introducing them to your business and making them feel welcome and encouraging them to succeed as much as you can. The other thing is that it's a good way to identify if you've made the wrong decision. When you're doing that onboarding process and having that check-in with them, I think a 4-week check-in is a really good idea. Your first week or two is, learning and whatnot. That 4-week mark is a really good way to be able to say, how are you going? Is that person performing? Are they able to do all the things they said they can do? Is there additional training that you need to offer at that point? Rather than, because we all get busy doing the job and you need to have that touch point to make it successful. Then doing 3-month and 6-month reviews, I would definitely recommend that in the first 12 months for any new employee. I find businesses that do that, you identify those gaps early and it creates a really good relationship with your new employees to bring them into the culture of the organisation so that they feel a part of your business. The quicker they feel part of the business, the more successful they will be and the better they will be at their job.
Absolutely. You talked about productivity is a big thing. So understanding that and making sure that what you say you do is what you do. I think some of the really important parts that you brought up, Belinda, is that getting everything done. So making sure that they've got a log on to the system, maybe ordered a uniform, a name tag. I know a lot of businesses say, no, we want to see what they're like. You can have used uniforms. Name tag is $15. You know what I mean? Just doing small things like that to make sure that they belong, having them on as part of their team. I always advocate, you talked about having a person, but in a dental practice, a mentor just works really well. They know that they've just got that one person that can actually be their mentor and go in. Touching base is a really big thing. I always recommend to diarise so it's actually put into the template that this is the time you're having to ensure that that manager's there. As you said, productivity will increase. You'll retain them. We've talked about how much it costs for a person to come in and then leave. I think if people do that, that sounds like a really good platform as a base to have. Belinda, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think you don't need to go and spend a whole lot of money to implement a good onboarding system. Just have some documentation with your pre-onboarding checklist, an onboarding checklist and some dates and times of things that you're going to cover that they need to go through. Implement that really good first impression to get the best and most success out of your new employees is what I would recommend.
That's fantastic. That's nice for dental practice owners to learn that. Obviously, having HR experts like yourself to go to help that, as well as ADA HR, is really great. Thank you, Belinda, for coming on today. I really appreciate your time and sharing with us your expert knowledge. For more information about Belinda and HR Focus, including links to their work and social media profiles, please check out the episode description. Thanks again, Belinda. Really enjoyed having you on and sharing everything. Onboarding is my love. Because people don't do it. So really thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Belinda. Bye.
Bye.
In our next episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside, we'll be joined by Julie Parker, co-founder of Dental Business Mastery. With decades of experience and as the first non-dentist to own a dental practice in Australia, Julie now focuses on empowering dental teams and guiding new graduates. If you're interested in building strong leadership and effective communication within your practice, or if you're a new grad looking for guidance, you won't want to miss this episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.